Prabhupada, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Thank you all very much for being here today. This is a very important and sacred day known as Vyas Puja. And we're celebrating the appearance of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada himself celebrated his spiritual master's Vyasa Puja right here in Atlanta. There's very few places where Srila Prabhupada did Vyasa Puja in the course of his time from 1960. He arrived in 65, no Vyasa Puja. Because he was on the boat when he had his appearance day and there were no disciples to worship him. No one to respect him. So he did it alone. And then the movement officially started in July of 1966. Still devotees didn't quite understand what is Guru Puja. They didn't know what Guru was. They called Prabhupada Swamiji. Swamiji's ringing the bells. Swamiji's doing that. Swamiji's doing this. Finally, after some time, they realized His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In fact, they didn't even call him Prabhupada, just Swamiji. Gradually, they understood who he was to some degree. None of us can understand Srila Prabhupada fully, who he really is. Because he never said, I am such and such, I am a gopi servant. No, he never said that. He only said, I'm the servant of my Guru. He always considered himself to be the servant of his spiritual master, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So in 1975, when he came here to Atlanta, he personally performed the arati to his spiritual master. And you should all make note that the exact same marble, not the cushions, but the exact same marble Vyasa-san is where Srila Prabhupada sat in 1975. And he gave his historic arrival address where he only spoke for about 1 minute or so, speaking about these deities in the center, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the emotional impact that it had upon him that day he sat here was palpable. You could feel it. It was powerful, glorifying Lord Chaitanya. And really saying that Krishna, he makes a demand. Sarva Dhamma Prichaja Mamikam Saranam Ruja Aham Tvam Sarvapatebhyo Moksha Shami Masuchaha. He said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't make any demand. Just to chant Hare Krishna. And at that point, Srila Prabhupada was crying. He was emotionally taken aback by looking at same deities that you're in front of regularly. Some of you are very fortunate to be here every day worshiping these beautiful Gauritai deities. So Prabhupada blessed this temple, and he did Vyasa Puja. So we, following in his footsteps, should do Vyasa Puja to him. He did his spiritual master. Myself, a little bit fortunate to be Prabhupada's disciple, Siki Pichidari. We're very fortunate to have Mother Mahaskini. She's a very senior Prabhupada disciple. It takes a lot to get her to come up and speak, but she has so much to share with us about Srila Prabhupada. We're very fortunate to have her today. So we should welcome her together. And you're also fortunate to be here. I know it's probably a little difficult because yesterday was Janmashtami, and it was a little late getting out, but you made it here. I was watching today on the internet, Guru Pujas from all over the world, and devotees all over the world. I saw in Hyderabad and Alachua and Philadelphia, so many places they're doing Vyasa Puja, very enthusiastically. Crowds just like this, some even more, to glorify Srila Prabhupada. So what we'll do, there's a book that's produced every year by Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. It's called Sri Vyasa Puja, and it's the Srila Prabhupada. Most Blessed Event, August 20th, 2022. But there's also one other book that some of you probably never even heard of. It's called Srila Prabhupada's Tributes. And these are Srila Prabhupada's disciples from all over the world. The main Vyasa Puja book represents the temples, GBCs, sannyasis, like that. Not as many. Here, there are disciples from all over the world. And I highly recommend that you take advantage of this book because it's free. You can go online, and I'll give you the address and pick it up free. It was produced by His Holiness Jaya Dvaita Swami, Dravida Das, and other senior devotees and second generation devotees. One of the devotees who work on this book. But they just wanted to expand it out. Why? Because unlike what you might think, some people say, Prabhupada's disciples will all be gone soon. And I thought about that for a while. What's the life expectancy in America? Like my uncle was 100 years old when he died. My auntie right now is 100 years old. And I'm only 70, I'm thinking, maybe I have 30 years. Maybe. But these Prabhupada disciples all over the world are your great asset. Recently I was watching a video of His Holiness Sasvarup Maharaj. It's a documentary about his daily life. He was the one that wrote, who knows what book he wrote? Srila Prabhupada, Leela Amrita. And we all tell stories from Leela Amrita. We all know Leela Amrita pastime. He was the person that organized all that. So I saw his little documentary, his daily activities, and how absorbed he was and Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. So I thought for a second, how? Prabhupada, how do you go? Come, please. Another Prabhupada disciple. We're waiting for our senior disciple, Acharya His. Abhay is here. Please get the chair for him. Is he here? Haribo. So we're very fortunate to have all these local Prabhupada disciples. So again, it's a great asset to all of you. And I won't say all of you and leave myself out, because regularly I take advantage of senior devotees. I call them on the phone, I try to get their guidance and advice. So if I'm in that mood after almost 50 years, what should you do? Take advantage. Now there may be some who may be a little feisty. Prabhupada said, a blind uncle is better than no uncle. He said that. So if your uncle is blind, at least he's uncle. Just like in the case of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra, you all know from Mahabharata and from Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra Uvacha. He was only concerned about his own sons, 100 sons, and trying to take over the kingdom, but he was blind himself. So he was not very happy. He wanted the kingdom. He was upset. Because of my blindness, I'm not allowed to be king. So he's always plotting how to get rid of the Pandavas. But at the end of his life, it's very important. This helps us understand this point about the blind uncle. At the end of his life, he was living with the same people that he tried to kill. His nephews. He tried to have them killed. So he's staying with them. And every day, Yudhisthira, senior devotee, he's going every day to see Dhritarashtra, and he's seeing how is he doing. But one day he went to see him, he was not there. Of course, he was married to Gandhari. So Dhritarashtra, Yudhisthira went to see him. He was not there. Where was he? Vidura had convinced him, get out from here. You're living like a kept dog in the homes of those you tried to kill. Get out. Come. Surrender. Self-realization. But the point is, Yudhisthira was so concerned about his so-called blind uncle. So we should all have that mood. Take advantage of what Prabhupada has given us. He's given us so many nice devotees all over the world. His disciples, and now, all of you. But specifically, take advantage of these devotees like Siti Pichidara. He's a good soul. I call him all the time, see how he's doing. Where's Prabhupada? Prabhupada. He was here when Srila Prabhupada was here. My dear godbrother Abhay, Acharya, with his beautiful family. These devotees are right here. They had experiences with Srila Prabhupada. You want to know? This morning I was listening to my godbrother Vishnu Gada in Philadelphia. You know. And Vishnu Gada was describing in his Vyasa Puja offering, he said the Christians have one bracelet. And it says, what would Jesus Christ do? So before they make any decision, what would Jesus Christ do? So Vishnu Gada said, we should change that. What would Prabhupada do? In every circumstance in life, you think, but how do you know what he did unless you read Lilamrita and inquire for these devotees? So you're so fortunate. And the last thing I want to say, just before I read my little offering, is that the greatest opulence that we have in this Krishna consciousness movement worldwide is what? Big buildings. Nay. Holy name, of course, but see, there would not be a movement unless there was Prabhupada. See, sometimes we forget. There's no this, none of us sitting here, had it not been for him struggling, coming on that boat in 1965. Which one of us would have done that? I know I would not have. I mean, a pleasure cruise, we'd all take that. He took a freight ship, and he said it was so much pain. He had 2 heart attacks. He said, if I have one more, I'll die for sure. And Krishna had to convince him. Just like Krishna had to convince the residents of Vrindavan by showing them, the spiritual sky, that you're fine. You'll go back to Godhead. So Krishna convinced Srila Prabhupada, you're fine. We'll take care of you, all the incarnations. Don't worry, just keep going, keep going. And then when he got to New York finally, it was still horrible. He was thinking, maybe I should go back. Because he was living in the Bowery, of all places. See, keep these memories of Srila Prabhupada fresh in your mind. You'll remain enthusiastic. There's one saying, it says, I used to complain about not having any shoes. Ain't no shoes. Sometimes people get upset. First time I went to India, someone stole my shoes in Mayapur. So I know what it feels like. But then the person says, but when I met a man with no feet, then I stopped my complaining. So sometimes we say, oh, it's too difficult, it's this. None of us had to go through what Prabhupada went through. So we might as well put that away and just follow in his footsteps, sacrificing everything. I heard someone else describing this morning, like Prabhupada sacrificed everything, family, business, health, everything, to bring this movement. So now we can sit, quote unquote, comfortably in this room that's being managed and organized by all the local Atlanta devotees headed by our dear Veda Sarvaguru, keeping this place going for us. I've been fortunate to be here. I was actually one of the first people to sleep in these buildings in 1974 when we moved in. And believe me, it was not like this. It was a mess. And I was complaining until Prabhupada showed up and I stopped complaining. There's no basis. Just preach. Just give Krishna consciousness like Prabhupada did. So we're going to, for a few minutes, and we'll stop exactly at 6:30 so we can have Prabhupada's Pushpanjali and Arti. While we're doing this, they're making the offerings to Srila Prabhupada there. So I'll begin with the offering that I wrote. Again, I mentioned it's in this book. It's called Srila Prabhupada's Tributes. It's open for all Prabhupada disciples to contribute to that. Hare Krishna. And it's free. It's available for you free. Balabhadra Acharya Das. It's funny, when I got initiated in 1974, and I got my B's from Prabhupada, and he said my name, but I was so overwhelmed by his presence. In fact, I was looking at him thinking, he sees all the dirt in me, all the nonsense I've been doing for 22 years, he sees it. I was like embarrassed. So when he said my name, I didn't hear it correctly. He said Balabhadra Bhattacharya. I thought he said Balabhadra, not Bhattacharya, no, Balabhata Bhattacharya. That's what I thought he said, Balabhata. But there's a Balabhata in our history. So for 3 or 4 days in Chicago, I was telling the devotees, what's your name, Prabhu? I said, Balabhata. And my temple president said, you idiot, your name is Balabhadra. So when Prabhupada gave that name, I had never heard of this person. Balabhadra Bhattacharya served Lord Chaitanya personally when he went to Jharikanda forest. He was the one that was serving him, cooking for him, everything. To my dear eternal Master and Savior, Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble and prostrated obeisances in the dust of your lotus feet. Dear Srila Prabhupada, I am so happy to inform you that I have finally reached what I have been calling my Prabhupada year, wherein I turned 70 years old last December. I have been deeply reflecting on the fact that you stepped onto the land of America when you were 70 and began your mission of preaching in the Western countries, as instructed by your spiritual master back in 1922. My humble and sincere desire is to spend the balance of my life sharing direct Krishna consciousness with as many conditioned souls as possible, and also to support your followers, especially the current second generation. Srila Prabhupada, you set the perfect example, and we simply have to follow in your footsteps, especially with regards to public kirtan. That is how you started this movement. And regardless of what some others may say, that process that you personally instituted is still our most powerful weapon against Maya, along with prasad and distribution. How do you go over it? The vision of you walking the streets of New York alone, without any disciples or well-wishers, is a powerful inspiration for me. And I intend to follow your example by wandering the streets of Atlanta. Wandering the streets of Atlanta and sharing Krishna consciousness with whoever is willing to listen. Srila Prabhupada, you are the personification of Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, text 21. Yad yad acharati sestas tat tat evetor Arjuna. Sayat pramanam gurute lokastat anuvartate. Translation, Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. I am just trying, in a very small and humble way, to traverse the path that you so kindly and mercifully laid out for all the world to pursue. Thank you, my dear Srila Prabhupada, for blessing me in so many ways, especially through your books and your perfect example of what it means to be a servant of our dear Lord Krishna. Dear Srila Prabhupada, I offer myself at your divine lotus feet and beg you to please use me as your weapon in the mission of fighting Maya and rescuing the fallen souls of this dangerous age of Kali, your humble eternal servant, Bhagavata Acharya His. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Like you said, I don't usually do public speaking, so I'm not good at it. I did the book that he mentioned, the tributes book. I had written Srila Prabhupada poem. I try to always make an offering in that book. It's a wonderful book. You should get it if you can. This is the poem that I wrote for Srila Prabhupada this year. Dear Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya knew you would appear and carry his message divine and clear. Every town and village he prophesied. Your guru said preach in the west, so you tried. You left Vrindavan where Krishna resides. Your comfort, your safety, you set them aside. And those of us here, deep in our nescience, by Krishna's grace, were drawn to your essence. Your physical grace, your deep erudition. You traveled the world drawing souls to your mission. All seek the answer to the human condition. You brought absolute answers to the soul's true position. You taught us to dance and to chant Krishna's name. And today, on the day of your birth, we proclaim the seeds of devotion you've planted are growing. We hope you are smiling. We know you are glowing. Our heads firmly placed on the ground at your feet. Our prayers filled with thankfulness, never complete. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Can we, Balabhadra, announce the names so that devotees get to know who they are?
This is Puram Prabhu and this is Madhu Mahasini.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Buddhale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Taine. I didn't prepare, didn't write a poem. I'm a little disorganized in that way. But I have been thinking about it today. Srila Prabhupada's life and his coming to America. And I just want to remind people of the milieu, the situation in America as Prabhupada arrived. He had actually been instructed to come to the West and preach and teach in English all the way back in the 20s. And finally came in the 60s by the divine arrangement of the Lord. At that time in the United States, there was total social upheaval. Atheism was on the rise. Right here at that time in the 60s, right over here at Emory University, there was a gentleman named Thomas Altizer who wrote a book, God is Dead. And innumerable teachers and swamis and gurus from India were coming and teaching that you are God, I am God. we're all God. Famous singers were singing songs about, actually with God on our side, but sort of like skepticism. And there's this skepticism, there's this undermining of theism. We're blaming God for our problems. We're blaming God for war. We're blaming God for man's inhumanity in man. This is the milieu. Srila Prabhupada arrived in New York, the epicenter, and how long have I got? 2 minutes. Anyway. Somehow or another, it's amazing. Krishna's arranging. Allen Ginsberg, the cultural leader of this whole counterculture, who had already been to India and experienced chanting Hare Krishna, and was chanting Hare Krishna in his own way. I just recently saw a clip. Allen Ginsberg was on William Buckley's show. William Buckley was a famous, right-wing conservative, talk show host, way back before all the plethora of talk show hosts. And he chanted Hare Krishna on William Buckley's show, Firing Line or something like this. So Prabhupada met Ginsberg. Ginsberg recognized, or somehow or another, he maybe wasn't, the perfect Vaishnava, but he was supportive. He was an American. He spoke English. Prabhupada could convey what was important. If I could, have you got a couple of minutes? This is a purport on the 10th canto. This is an example of how Srila Prabhupada's pragmatic presentation of Lord Chaitanya's teachings and mission applying to America. This is the purport of the translation that we all remember from Krishna book. Once when Mother Earth was overburdened by hundreds of thousands of military phalanxes of various conceited demons dressed like kings, she approached Lord Brahma for relief. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When the world is overburdened by unnecessary military arrangements, and when various demoniac kings are the executive heads of state, this burden causes the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata avyutanam adharmasya karatmaram sajamyam. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I appear myself. When the residents of this earth become atheistic and godless, they descend to the status of animals like dogs and hogs, and thus their only business is to bark among themselves. This is dharmasya glani, a deviation from the goal of life. Human life is meant for attaining the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. But when people are godless, and the presidents or kings are unnecessarily puffed up with military power, their business is to fight and increase the military strength of their different states. Nowadays, therefore, it appears that every state is busy manufacturing atomic weapons to prepare for a third world war. Such preparations are certainly unnecessary. They reflect the false pride of the heads of state. The real business of a chief executive is to see to the happiness of the mass of people by training them in Krishna consciousness in different divisions of life. Chaturvanyam maya shristam guna karma vibhagasa. A leader should train the people as Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras and engage them in various occupational duties, thus helping them progress toward Krishna consciousness. Instead, however, rogues and thieves in the guise of protectors arrange for a voting system, and in the name of democracy, they come to power by hook or crook and exploit the citizens. Even long ago, asuras, persons devoid of God consciousness, became the heads of state, and now this is happening again. The various states of the world are preoccupied with arranging for military strength. Sometimes they spend 65% of the government's revenue for this purpose. But why should people's hard-earned money be spent in this way? Because of the present world situation, Krishna has descended in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. This is quite natural. For without the Krishna consciousness movement, the world cannot be peaceful and happy. That's Srila Prabhupada's level of preaching. Srila Prabhupada also indicated some of the more intimate and esoteric aspects of Vaishnava philosophy. But I was attracted, and for a lifetime of my participation, somehow or another I was attracted by this social revolutionary. Srila Prabhupada used that term, revolutionary. We were creating a revolution in a materialistic civilization. And he came to America. Krishna arranged one thing after another for him to be successful and propagate Krishna consciousness all around the world. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
So now we hear from Siki Pichadari.
Krishna Krishna Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta, swami. So, Prabhupada also said that they'd made all these nuclear weapons and they must use them. I thought that was very interesting.
Can we pause 1 second to move everybody? Move forward a little bit more. Make a little bit more space.
Actually, each one of us can relate some story in meeting Prabhupada. For me, it was a wonderful experience. I had heard about him, some time before. So, without any proper planning, I just went to the temple. And they said, oh, we're going to the airport, Prabhupada has arrived. So, away we went to the airport. I hadn't even been in the temple room or anything. So we went to the airport and Prabhupada was coming out a certain direction. And I thought, my smart way, I'll stand here, But then he came out a different direction. Then we went to like a press room, a green room, I think they call it. And there Prabhupada gave a lecture to the newspapers that were there. That was in Melbourne in 1976, April the 19th, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I saw the devotees all surrounded by Prabhupada, and I was in awe immediately that I saw him. And he was very small. He wasn't, like we built this picture of Prabhupada, but he was only like 5'2", right? He was very tiny. Bengali is small. And so then we, after the press, we all went back to the temple. For some strange reason, everybody was in the temple room. And already sitting down, Prabhupada was giving the lecture. And somehow or other I came in after. I don't know what happened. Anyway, so I came in the doorway, and all of a sudden I had this wonderful feeling that I want this service. And the service was a devotee, Prabhupada disciple called Lagudi. I don't know if anyone's ever met him. He joined in Australia, but he was from Yugoslavia. And he was waving a peacock fan. And all of a sudden I was overwhelmed with a desire to have that service. But it didn't come from me. I knew it didn't come from me. I was just a hippie, long hair, and, looked like something the cat dragged in. But somehow or other, I saw Prabhupada in this beautiful Vyasa-san, and he was waving a peacock fan. I never thought anything of it. Then I sat down in the class. Prabhupada looked over at me during the class and he said, Brahmanas don't smoke cigarettes. And at that time, one devotee asked me to join. I said, oh, well, I'm still smoking. So, and then when Karma Prabhu came to America to write his book, he asked me, and I told him that what happened. He said, I must have been turning the tape over because they never recorded it. So, because I distinctly heard him look at me and say that. So then Prabhupada got up after the lecture and walked to the deities. And as he walked, the crowd just opened up. Like, you know, when we walk through a crowd, we have to fight our way through. I know when I went to Sri Nakji, it was like, I didn't even touch the ground, you know. But when Prabhupada walked to the deities, it just folded like magic, you know. And when he was walking, it was like he wasn't even touching the ground. It was amazing. Then he paid his obeisances to each set of deities and went out and went up to his room, and someone asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, no, I didn't think, you know, I should, he doesn't want to talk to me. It's like, really? Me? So then, but the experience was amazing, you know. I mean, it was like, to a Christian, it was like meeting Jesus Christ. You know, just when he spoke, you knew what he's saying, this is real. This is no concoction or imagination. And the potency was behind every word. You know, it's concrete. You know, if you change your mind at that point, it was detrimental for you. You know, it was like, you know, like God's representative standing right there telling you what to do, and you better do it. You know? So I left the tent, went home, and I came back 4 days later, but he'd already gone. Because I was like in total ignorance. I didn't know. He was there for 3 days giving lectures. I had no idea. And then when I went back, I had an interesting experience as I was walking back. My father was a butcher. So I was raised in a butcher shop. So when I was walking back, about 2 blocks from the temple, there was a truckload. A truck had slammed his brakes on, and all the animal products were in the back with blood and mucus and everything. And it was all over the street everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, you know, it's like scared the hell out of me, you know. So then I went back to the temple, and I realized he was already gone. So I spent the day there, and you know, I wanted to join right there and then, but somehow or other I wasn't qualified, or you know, Krishna wasn't extending the invitation. So they gave me a set of beads and a record, change of heart, and a nectar of devotion. So then I went home, and then they gave me a set of beads, that's it. And then I went to my parents' beach house, and while I was chanting in the beach house, I didn't realize, but I was chanting around and back around. So I was chanting 32 rounds a day. And I gave up the smoking in 1 month without mental anguish, you know, just like, gave it up. But the reason why I'm continuing the story, something interesting happened. When I was living in the hippie communities, I was living with one girl, and I didn't have any, even though we were sleeping in the same bed, we didn't have any physical relationship. I had reading beyond birth and death at that time, and I was just totally focused. And so I get this letter while I was at my parents' beach house from her, and she told me she's pregnant. And she had nowhere to go. And she was from England. I said, come on down, you know, come on. So she came down, And she stayed, and she started chanting 32 rounds a day. I think I got some necklace or something, you know, like a woman's necklace. And she was chanting on that. And we would walk up and down the beach and chant. And then we decided we would join. So I took a bus to a train. I knew it was a train. I went to Sydney, and I went to the temple president, and I said, you know, we'd like to join. Oh, actually, before I even talked to him, as I walked in the door, a devotee came around the corner and says, oh, we need you to hang a curtain. I mean, you know, that's all I've ever done in Krishna consciousness, is hang something, you know, make something. So I was like, what the hell? I didn't even know anything about a screwdriver. So I hang this curtain. So I hung the curtain, and my wallet was in my road, and I put it near the DD room, and someone took it. Because I'm thinking everyone's a pure devotee. So then the president called me up. His name was Jai Dharmadas. Very wonderful devotee. And I said, we'd like to join. He said, we? I said, yeah, the girl. Because he was thinking it was more. Anyway, so he says, I don't know. I said, what? What do you mean you don't know? You know, we want to join now. He said, okay, all right. So I went back and I got her, and I was really scared going back because I thought the train would collapse or the bus would fall over or something. And I got her and I brought her to the temple. And she joined, and she got initiated by Prabhupada too. Her name is Jita Shakti Das. She lives in San Francisco. Husband is in Mayapur. You know, he raised the money for the Mayapur temple. Yeah, American. I just can't get his name over here. They got a few wonderful kids. Anyway, you know, Prabhupada was a wonderful experience, and you know, we're trying to keep this in our heart because we experienced it. And you know, we're talking about your grandfather in a sense, and it's, you know, you want to remember all these things because Krishna says, always think of me, become my devotee, yeah? Worship me. So Krishna consciousness means thinking about Krishna. So, you know, you have to train your mind either by scripture or by, you know, japa, whatever it takes, always think of me. So you have to cultivate your mind to think about Krishna constantly. Because if you're not thinking about Krishna, what will you be thinking about? Maya. And she has so many wonderful distractions for you. Unlimited. All right. Hare Krishna.
Now we'll hear from Abhay, Acharya, who was fortunate to see Prabhupada or meet Prabhupada in India, in Mayapur.
Krishna, Bhakti, vedanta, swami, namaste, saraswati, devi, gauravani, pracharini, evisesa swarnavadi, pachattadi, satarini. So I have a little experience out of America. Okay, I'm from India, Mayapur, Nadia district, and that happened to, I joined in Mayapur and came Bhavananda Maharaj, Bhavananda who brought me in Calcutta, and then there was a bus group traveling Sankirtan starting from Vrindavan, and they need us more devotees for traveling, more Hindi-speaking and Indian devotees. Now we had very few devotees those days, like I heard when I came society in Mayapur, there's like 100 something devotees, all Indian devotees, all, I mean, it was very, very few devotees. Indian devotees in those days. And so we had a mood of make more devotees in Krishna consciousness. So then Hansa Maharaj was there. He came from Mayapur festival and I was there in Calcutta, and then Lokanath Swami also. So they both was also brought two big bus from Germany, big traveling bus. So we started from Vrindavan to our destination up to all the way to Himalaya. This one just wanted to go cool place. Those it was so hot in India, summertime. So we stopped every town. So what happened is, I'm telling one incident, it's in Indian, they don't know what it is called. Okay? So they know devotees means in Vrindavan, right? So when they see the devotees, and Western devotees, very few Indian devotees, couple of them. And so we had some group met every morning whenever we go and go to the store distribute books. We didn't have much books also, like Back to God, BDs, and Bhagavad Gita. That's all we have, some books there those days in India. And there was no translation, the Ruskan, Sri, Sapansa, Hindi. So we mainly for people go to store and get a donation. And people used to talk that, personally me, they called me, they told me, you know what, why you joined? You were small, I was a small boy. And you know those people who were there, they come to get India back again. So, why you try to help to get, I said, that's not this is not a society. And our spiritual master, Prabhupada, he's from India, he's from Calcutta. So how can we? So they were trying to convince you, all kind of experience in those days. Now I'm thinking that those days are so struggle, Preaching was very good, very powerful. Everybody's go out, distribute books, and we had also globe card. I got initiated in Lajpat Nagar, and the writer initiated, and Prabhupada told, I was in the same very room, in Prabhupada Darshan 4 o'clock, and he told Lokanath Swami that now you need to go village to village, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did preaching. So, and Maharaj was asking Prabhupada to give some books and all that, and Prabhupada said, I am sannyasi, I have no money I to give anything, but I am giving all this brahmachari. This is my all, So anyway, so we had like 32 devotees to join from every day by going 20 kilometers in India, from Vrindavan to Vrindavan. And it's very hard, So we are preaching very successfully to Mayapur, from Vrindavan to walking all the way to Mayapur. So it took 6 months, but some miles we could not cover because Gaur Purnima festival was coming. So we had to get a truck and go. And this is the thing, we had crossed the river, so Jalangi, and we reached by the river. And those days was on a boat, there's no machine boat or anything, so people, they do this boatman. So no one agreed to take the bulls. We had 2 big bulls and the cart, no one. So I am the one who's speaking Bengali there to convince I want like 3 dozen people to ask, please, whatever cost we're going to give you, but no one is like, finally 2 boat was agreed, So somehow we made that, and then we went to the temple at the side, Mayapur, and Prabhupada was very pleased with that. So this is my offering to the Prabhupada, Jai.
So thank you for all these wonderful servants of Srila Prabhupada. So now we request our Temple President, Vedasar Prabhu, on behalf of the second generation. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for everyone to speak. We'd love to do that, but we want to stick with our time. So please come, Vedasar Prabhu.
Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavani Paschataveshvani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasa Shri Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Who here knows Srila Prabhupada? Raise your hand. Who here does not know Srila Prabhupada? Raise your hand. Who here has never heard of him? Raise your hand. Thank you for joining us in this beautiful celebration. Srila Prabhupada is the ambassador that has come from the spiritual world to bring Krishna Bhakti, love of God, to Kali Yuga. And he has sacrificed everything in life to do that. So my realization that I've been having since practicing Bhakti for the last 40 years of my life, I have noticed that the depthness of Srila Prabhupada's instructions have sustained this institution for over 50 years now. And the incredible part of this growth and the sustenance of Srila Prabhupada's Bhakti movement is this amazing young boys at that time. Balabhadra Prabhu, Abhay Prabhu was only a teenager. Sikhi Pichadhari Prabhu, Mahasini Mataji, Parampara Prabhu. These were the young people. Just like when Rama was building the bridge to Lanka. He could have done it by himself. But somehow, the quality of devotees and the quality of Krishna is to bring everybody on board together. So Srila Prabhupada had handpicked over 5,000 disciples around the world. How many primarily picked them in America? And he claimed that they were sent by his spiritual master, who was already in the spiritual world at that time. So, my realization in celebrating Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja is that Srila Prabhupada's ability to bring everyone together and create this spiritual revolution. And now, all those revolutionaries, one by one, they're going back to Srila Prabhupada. Because he's the commander-in-chief of the Bhakti movement, and they have come and they have spread this Bhakti movement all over the world. There is not a place you will not find devotees. I was one time going to India through Thailand, and I didn't know that there were devotees there. And I was coming out of my hotel to go to the airport, but there were devotees doing Harinam Sankirtan on the streets. In Bangkok. There wasn't a preaching center at that time, but there were devotees. So it's very interesting, wherever Srila Prabhupada went or didn't go, but the instructions that he gave has covered every nook and corner of the world. And now, we are very fortunate that there is still so many Srila Prabhupada disciples in Atlanta that we still have access to. So I always urge you, I urge you to please take advantage of these personalities. These are not veterans. These are people that actually went to war to establish bhakti all over the world with Srila Prabhupada, and they're still with us. And we should get to know Srila Prabhupada through them. I have never met him in my life, but one thing I do know is he is real. Srila Prabhupada is real. And his instructions are very powerful if you follow. It's extremely powerful. It will carry you through all difficulties in life, spiritual, material difficulties. It will carry you through. But the most important thing is that the devotees that are here, we should try to take shelter of them. Jai Shri Gauranatai, Jagannath Baladev Shivadvadevi, Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. We should take shelter of them, take instructions from them, and see how we can serve them. Because by serving them, you'll be serving Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada created this incredible institution. He said, Iskcon is not different from me. So we have to try to remain within the framework of Iskcon, which is the body of Srila Prabhupada, and how to and engage in service. Prabhupada was always worried that when we left the shelter, the umbrella that he created. So this is my meditation for Srila Prabhupada's Vyas Puja, that let us take shelter of this. Devotees who were directly instructed by Srila Prabhupada and were the recipient of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And let us see how we can serve them and stay connected to Srila Prabhupada's movement, because this is our shelter. This boat that Srila Prabhupada has hand-carved is the boat that will help us to cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the spiritual realm of Goloka Vrindavan. Iskcon Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada's disciples Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada's grand disciples Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada's great-grand disciples Ki Jai. And everyone who's here in the house of Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And everyone is always welcome to the home of Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. So now we're going to request everyone to please stand up and face Srila Prabhupada. And we'll do
vedanta, swami Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Nitai Gaura, raise both your hands as high as you can. Nitai Gaura, Hari Gaura. Hari Gaura. Hari Gaura. Hari Gaura. Your turn. Nitai Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, one more time. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Everyone, please raise both your hands. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Jai Om Vishnupada, Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya, Asto Navashata Sri Srimad, Abhay Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Iskcon Atlanta, Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Janma Tithi Mahamahotsav ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Vyasa Puja Celebration ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Avirbhav Tithi Mahamahotsav ki Jai. Brahma Mantra Gauriya Sampradaya Acharya Vrinda ki Jai. Sri Rup Sri Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Sarvagoswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasana Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giriraj Govardhan ki Jai. Brajabhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Purushottam Kshetra Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki Jai. Nirpani Hatti Dham ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Shubhadra Devi ki Jai. Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai. Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Maharani ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki Jai. Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada Mahamahotsav ki. Bolo Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Sham. You have to say Sham. Krishna and Radha Sham is always together. So that's going to be September the 3rd. And we would like to offer thousands of offerings to Srimati Radharani. How about minimum 3,000? Who thinks we can do it? We have actually made, I don't remember, I think it's 2,700. 2,600 was the highest number of offerings that we offered Srimati Radharani on her birthday. And the reason we do that is because she is the head of the kitchen, Krishna's kitchen. And so if you cook for her, then you become an expert cook. Even if you have no qualifications, all you have to do is you have to try to cook, and whatever you cook will turn out fantastic. And Srimati Radharani will eat it, and after she offers it to Krishna, of course, and then you all get to enjoy the big feast. So, September the 3rd, another good news, is a Saturday. So you can cook Friday and Saturday and be here in the temple no later than 5 o'clock. Who would like to cook for Srimati Radharani? Raise your hand. You're supposed to say Hari Bol. We'll both. Children have so much spiritual ecstasy. So please start planning. You have plenty of time. If you need cookbook recipes, there are tons and tons of cookbooks out there. It has to be pure vegetarian, only rule. Because Krishna doesn't eat anything that is not sattvic. That means no onions or garlic. And ideally, if you can use pots and pans that you haven't cooked onions or garlic in. Because Krishna likes everything sattvic. And this is the recommendation that Srimati Radharani gave us. And so we're just passing on the information. And there is all these containers, you can buy them at Walmart, Sam's Club, Kroger's, Publix. You don't have to make quantities to feed thousands of people. You can make small quantities. There was Nandana Prabhu, who was a brahmachari here. He's currently retired in Vrindavan. He lives in Radhakund. He's traveling around and doing Vrindavan Parikram every single day and Govardhan Parikram every single day. He is planning to enter into Krishna Lila in this body. So, he used to be a pujari here. He's a lifelong brahmachari. And he was one of the persons that I watched who could dress the deities, offer the deities and cook at the same time. And he would have 10 stoves cooking at the same time. And one day I asked him, Nandana, how do you know how to cook? And he said, if you have the mercy of Radharani, you can do anything. So I said, okay. So this is where you can cook. You can be in one place and your fires are burning, you can still cook. If your meditation is Srimati Radharani. So I request you to please, as we're ending Srila Prabhupada's appearance day, he gave us Srimati Radharani. So now, we prepare ourselves mentally and let's make over 1,000 offerings for Srimati Radharani on Radhastami. 3,000, Balabhadra Prabhu said. If Balabhadra Prabhu said 3,000, that means it's possible. Is it possible?
So, let us do this for Srimati Radharani. Please put your meditation from today onwards. Tomorrow is Sunday feast. You can start meditating, you can start writing them down. And let us give Srimati Radharani the best birthday ever. Radhastami Mahamahotsav ki! Srila Prabhupada ki! Srila Prabhupada ki! Srila Prabhupada ki! Don't forget, the Srila Prabhupada disciples will be served first, and then the children. So prasadam will be served outside. Please come and have the last darshan of the deities. And take the lotus feet of the Lord in your hand and enjoy the feast. Thank you.